Hello, in today's video I'm going to be showing you how to do an offset seam. So one that's not running right along the edge like you'd usually be used to, but one that's slightly shifted to the inside. And this is where I first started noticing these kind of seams on factory garments when I was doing alterations, was at the top of zippers of dresses. So I have this dress right here, and each side of the zipper, if you go in real close, it's a little hard to tell with a zipper right here running through it. It's distracting, but if you look on this side profile, you can see this seam is shifted towards the inside. So this right here, this border right here, could have been closer to the edge right here. And so this whole thing would have shifted more to the middle like this, but you can see it's offset, and you really can tell when you actually get into the garment and take this apart. You'll see a little fold that happens in here, and how this line right here intersects, and how there's a mismatch. And that's gonna be more obvious when I demonstrate it with some just scrap fabric without the zipper, and you'll see how this works. In today's demonstration, I'm going to be showing you some offset seams. So instead of having the seam down right along the side of the item, it's going to be offset. And there's going to be two different offset seams that I'll show you. One that's going to be offset by the short side. So I did two identical sets here. So a front and a back, but just the offset seam is at a different location. One is going to be along the short side and one is going to be along the long side. It's going to be offset by about 1/4 of an inch. And so I'll demonstrate on this one first. Okay, for our first one with the offset seam on the short side, I'm going to take these right side to right side, and I'm going to match these two, this edge up here. I'm going to match these two. So then you see this is offset right now, but I'm just going to match this edge and sew across here. And now when I sew the long side, then you're really going to see this offset seam come to life. So now I'm going to sew this side, and I'm going to take this mismatch and I'm going to bring it down the shorter side and match it to this longer side. So you see there's an offset, there's a difference. And then now you're going to see right here where there's a difference in the lengths. That's going to create this bubble right here, and I'm just going to press it all the way up, so it's going to make this little crease up here. And I'm going to put a pin directly on that crease and pin it down like that. this is the offset seam then across this top along the short edge, and you can see the difference. This is just a regular seam that you're used to making where it's exactly centered on the side, just down the side all the way to the edge. But then when you do an offset, you see it's not centered on the very edge here. It's actually a little bit in. Now I'm gonna demonstrate the offset seam, but on this long side instead of this short side. So now it's on this long side. So I'm gonna sew this seam right here. Then I'm gonna shift the short side to match the long side right here. And I'm gonna sew this seam. I'm gonna sew this top short seam. Only the thing I'm gonna do to create the offset is I'm gonna take this side right here and I'm gonna shift it over to match. All right, trim this corner across here to reduce the bulk, and now I'm gonna just turn this whole corner out. Turn this corner right here. And after I pressed it, here's the finished look. I just made sure that this little pressed over seam, the width of it is about the same the whole way down. I didn't want to mismatch this edge and then have this one wider here and this smaller here, so just the same width as all the way down. And then here's zoomed out, here's the demonstration of this offset seam on the long side and then an offset seam on the short side. And here's a little close-up of what the corner looks like when you have this little fold and that offset seam on either one. So I know this isn't on a specific garment, but it's still helpful to see just a basic idea of how this works. Because yeah, you'll run into this technique on different clothing items. Specifically, the first one I saw it with was this offset seam along the top of dresses and evening gowns with a zipper. Like the zipper would be inserted here and there'd be this offset seam at the top, and it used to confuse me when I would be altering dresses and take them apart and then find this offset seam at the top. And then yeah, eventually I figured out how to sew it and just the basic concept of it. And yeah, it's really nice. It creates like this clean finish on the edge instead of having to try to center this perfectly or worrying that the seam is gonna show on the outside. If you just shift that to the back of the garment, then it's gonna create this really clean, crisp, just folded edge, and the seam is just on the inside. So that's that. Thanks for watching.